It says live.
There we
So
are,
that's
live.
good. I mean, here I am on the YouTubes. Maybe. I don't even know. Here I go. Hello, friends. I'm Sandy Hare with the Hare Real
Hello,
Estate
everyone.
Collective in Guelph, talking today with both serving all areas, like Jamie likes to say, all over the place here in Southern Ontario. And I'm here chatting with my friend.
I am Jamie Vasey, Mortgage Jedi, and as you can tell, I'm still battling laryngitis, going on 6 weeks now.
Yeah, that's a long
So,
time.
mortgage broker for Ontario, including Susan.
You need, like, you know how people collect like
So,
license plates, for different. You need like bumper stickers or
yeah, the
postcards,
bumper
like
stickers.
like a wall of like cities. Yeah,
Just a map of
just like or
Ontario, and
now, yeah,
just
even like a little like we pop a pin in there, something like that of the rand. You can serve a wider, diverse area. Like whereas like myself, I could maybe get a referral. I could list anywhere in Ontario. I think it's because it's pretty static when you list. But helping people buy, I like to stick to the areas I know. Don't go too far out of the waters. Is a good rule of thumb. It's better for
yeah,
everyone. So, but you can.
yeah, a mortgage. Yeah, a mortgage in Sault Ste. Marie is the same as a mortgage in Kitchener, as Guelph, as Toronto. I mean, there are some differences in appraisal costs and property values and stuff, but the
Yeah,
rules are the
that's
same.
great. We're good. Yeah, we'll start you a postcard collection. It'll be great. Any obscure city I go to, I'm gonna get one and pack it away.
Yeah,
Oh
or the
yeah,
little spoons.
spoons.
I, I need the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
spoon
you should get some of those. That'd be cool.
my grandma had.
So what's been going on, sir? How's business? Busy? Yeah.
Um, it's interesting. So there's been a lot of saber rattling, I guess is the best way to put it. We had the Bank of Canada raise the benchmark rate, and that really didn't do much um, because it's still lower than it was
Right.
a year and a half ago. So we had the CMHC reverse the rule they put in place this time last year um, that restricted the qualifying ratios because they realized they were losing business to the other insurers who didn't make a change, which really means nothing for buyers because there were other insurers who were servicing their mortgage. But it's interesting that a year later they went, yeah, okay, this was a mistake.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah, well,
undo it.
good. I mean, the thing is that it wasn't it's a business like anybody else, right? Like they've got to adjust and listen to their customers or clients and make those choices accordingly. There's a lot of things that, make it make real estate a little bit more complicated, and that certain rules and like right now, like the prices in Ontario and Southern Ontario here getting what most people feel are pretty unattainable, and it's pretty hard. Like a lot of the conversation I've been having with people is that they have to move away from their hometown or move away from the areas that they know because they can't afford in the area. Well, some of these rules and things like that are set up so that we don't have issues with failing mortgages later, but at the same time, some of them are pretty restrictive on people actually getting their getting into homes and getting started. So it's good that they're listening.
I think there's a couple ways in which the mortgage industry hasn't quite caught up to what's happening in the real estate market. The one thing I'll say is any properties that were sold for $1 million or more, you cannot get insured on that mortgage. So even if you were putting, if you got a $1.1 million house and you were putting $800,000 down, you could not do a 25-year amortization insured. You still had to do an uninsured mortgage and take on the higher interest rate, which now $1 million properties are becoming much more the norm.
Well, yeah.
And I think I think they need to adjust that to be, what's the value of the mortgage, not the property? And that's what we're going to insure against, or loan to value.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and
So
I agree with you. So, and I can't begin to tell you, like, most of my first time home buyers are getting approved for mortgages that are like 800,000 to $1 million, maybe even 1 point something. And that seems to be becoming the norm, you know, for the house prices, especially here in Guelph. It's in the area, like it was really so at the beginning of last year, and I think we talked about this kind of on and off over the last year. It was really disheartening to have buyers come to you after meeting with their mortgage broker and saying to you, man, like, I'm so excited, like, I can't believe it, like, we've been approved for this like crazy good mortgage and have like these high expectations, like we're approved for like $1 million or 1.1 or something like that. We're sure we could find the house of our dreams in Guelph, like get out of the GTA, or well, you know, or even still, like, you're in Guelph and you want to move to another neighborhood, or you want to move, you know, to something a little more accommodating for your family. Man, we're excited about this 1.1. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So like, that's a very competitive market now. And 1.1 is like the new 750 for houses. And that's just in 1 year. Like, that's just in 1 year. If you would have said to me in 2019, 2018, even 2018 specifically, because it was such a chill year for real estate, I miss it. I miss it so much. But yeah, it was, oh, I don't know what happened to your feed on my YouTube. Are you there? I can hear you on yours. So I'll just keep going. That's okay. What happened was that, like, just in 1 year, if you would have told me that in 2019, that we wouldn't have been able to. Oh, I can't see you in my feed. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'm just gonna go back to it and see if it comes back on. Yeah, it's just a blue screen. Oh, that's interesting. We're trying out this YouTube thing. We're just gonna see how it goes. Um, the so oh yeah, there we go. So anyway, so it's definitely been a very interesting market, and that that the price heights, and then the disheartening of the buyers coming to market. And it'd be really cool if, it's hard to say though, like, if they start to say that, you know, you don't have that interest rate, what does that do? You know, like, does that make that $1 million price tag on houses, like, does that shove everybody into more confident buyer frenzy for any house? Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Um, Well, I can talk about one myth. Can I get you to sign back into that video stream on my side just to try it out? Yeah, try it out. I'll just put you down and then we'll see if it works. It might work. So I'm just trying out YouTube. So one myth that I will say, like, yeah. It's my pores. Like, please count all my pores. One myth that I think is oh, there you are. You made it back. Hey.
Hey.
There he is. Okay, so one myth that I could talk about is one thing that is happening in the current real estate market in Southern Ontario is a softening, and that's a term we like to use, a softening of the market. There is, and the reason for that is a couple things. One, openings. So COVID, as we all know, like we're in stage 3 in most places here in Southern Ontario. Things are opening up. I think Ontarians are feeling great or more confident. Like vaccinations make people feel more confident about it. So people are starting to go out again and be in public again. And they're getting.
I got Jays tickets.
You got Jay's ticket. I was really happy for you to be playing baseball. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw it, when I saw your little picture on Instagram, I went, "Oh, yay!" Like so happy for you. I know it's a big thing. So when you get to see me at like getting on a plane or traveling to some major city, then you'll know that I have come full circle as well. But the people are distracted by things they can do basically, or that reopening. There's literally people that have not done anything for the last year and a half, and they're very excited to get out and actually explore and do things. Campsites filling up like that was a good indicator, a marker for us in real estate that it was going to be a slow lagging summer, or could end up being a slow lagging summer. The other thing, the other factor is that typically in Southern Ontario, we do see a lag in real estate, but it's more heightened because of the whole COVID restraints lifting. And the other thing is that buyer burnout. I think there's a lot of buyers that, just got burnt out from the process and have decided to just like put it on hold because the unknown of being able to travel and like all those things, weighing out their options and possibly even moving out of province. Moving out of province is a huge thing, or further reaches. People have really reimagined their lives and stuff and have decided to do, like, we are helping quite a few people move out of province right now, and it's staggering. Like, this is the most I've ever helped. So all these listings we have coming up are people literally getting out of Dodge. Like, they're done with the way Ontario handled things, or they're just done with Ontario prices and they're moving on to other places in Canada. So buyer burnout, all of those factors. So softening is the myth that I want to talk about. This market is soft right now in that there are less buyers in the market. That does not equal price reductions, or does not equal lower prices on houses. That's a myth that we can dispel, because softening of the market may mean that you are in less competition, that you may be able to get some conditions in, or may be able to get a longer time to decide on a house, or it may mean that you may have to urgently move because someone's not holding off offers. They're just going to ask for 48-hour irrevocable. So you got to get out there and look at the house. But houses will still sell at market value. We were just in competition the other day for a condo. It was listed $100,000 under market value. We got it for market value in competition. I think that's a huge win. We literally got it at the same price as the other condo sold for in there. That's the exact comparable. That's a win. That's like, it didn't get it over market value. That's huge. So I think that we can kind of chalk that up to a win, but that doesn't mean that prices are going down. Softening doesn't equal down. If prices start going down, we have a bigger economy issue than, and you may not even get approved for a house, a mortgage at that point. It becomes more stricter rules. So that's one myth.
I don't think that there's going to be any chance of that happening, to be blunt, because while we have a softening right now, there's going to be a point in time where immigration starts happening
Yeah,
again.
if not already.
And that creates more demand in the market. So the one myth I want to talk about is this belief that changes in regulations are making it tougher to own a home right now. So right now, people believe that, back in July when they raised the benchmark rate, that was going to make it tougher to own a home. Or, the request for whatever proof of income lenders need to satisfy their auditors and their insurers makes it tougher to own a home.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, it is easier to own a home now than it has been many, many generations.
Mm-hmm.
What's making it tougher to buy a home is people. Okay? It's the Bank of Canada and the CMHC are not creating a competitive market where you have 11 other people competing with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's other people creating that market.
Mm-hmm.
They are not creating an environment whereby you have to forego conditions to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Bank of Canada, CMHC, Canadian government, they want those conditions in there. They want that peace of mind. They want that assurance for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's being created by sellers, or sellers in combination with their listing agents,
Mm-hmm.
or, so people are what's making it tougher to own homes right now.
Yeah.
Not regulations, not the government. We're letting a few people dictate how the game's going to be played.
Mm-hmm.
And they're forcing everybody else to play by their rules. Whereas if the majority of the people acting in the marketplace right now, there's more buyers than sellers.
Mm-hmm.
If the sellers had more of a unified mindset, then the pendulum would shift.
Yeah.
Right? They would then say, no, we're not going to go 50,000 above asking. If you believe your house is worth 50,000 above asking, list it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can evaluate. No, we're not going to go in without a inspection or whatever. If everybody acted in that manner, the sellers would then be forced to say, okay, then I'm going to take the best offer I'm getting.
Yeah.
As opposed to letting the sellers dictate to the buyers what they have to do to own their home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's the people who are creating the difficulty in the marketplace.
It's supply. What you're talking about is supply and demand.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supply and demand, and Ontario has that, and they've been working on this for a really long time. We have the green areas and the green belt. Everybody, and I've been saying this for like most of COVID, if not probably before, that the second Ontario becomes less GTA centric, the more even house prices will become, because the demand on houses in like commutable to GTA jacks up the prices to what people working in the GTA can afford. And that's not necessarily what people in, working in Guelph can afford, or working in Kitchener could afford. Now that Kitchener's got more things like Google and, all these things, and, Amazon's coming to Cambridge, and we're getting people that are, GTA businesses, companies that are having people work remotely and never step foot into an office and have that quality of life, being able to do the work-life balance at home. We are finding those people going all the way up to, Sault Ste. Marie or Barrie. And I was talking with somebody the other day about how his parents' house in Barrie just went into like crazy multiple offers. There was like a ton of offers on the house, and that was never a thing before. But now as these companies are spreading out throughout Ontario, it's creating like spread out house prices, but also fairer job pay, across Ontario, without it being like all in, all that money all in Toronto all the time. Makes
Well, and
sense.
now we're going to get into a situation where the people who came from Toronto, because the city life just wasn't happening,
Mm-hmm.
now it's going to happen again.
I know. Yeah.
So they're going to start. I already had a client who said, we're moving back to Toronto. So, you know,
I predict it. I know it's going to happen by December. If things stay open and start opening up, the government of Ontario is so like handsy with Toronto and need it to succeed that I believe they will start incentivizing people to come back to Toronto. I really believe that will be a thing. There will be incentives to come back in some way. Something will happen in that way. Because of the mass exodus from there. And now the thing is that the knee-jerk reaction to that is that places like Guelph, Fergus, all the way out to Cambridge, Kitchener, people are getting what they want for their houses or more than they ever thought they would ever get. And they're like, see you later, moving to Nova Scotia or moving to New Brunswick. Or I know so many people moving out west, out east. There's certain places where I would like it. There's a couple things at anyway. So I would like out BC, great move. Out, super east, great move. Do it. Like get it done. Up north, cottage country, always a great move. But it's so many people doing that right now, and that's the knee-jerk reaction. People don't want to live in GTA. Now they move out here, and then the people out here move out and just get out of here and finally pull that trigger. So
can we now say, from a seller standpoint, because of the softening of the market, they're listing below value and expecting 50 to 100,000 over asking? Is that becoming a bit of a myth?
So no, well, it's still happening. It's just buyers are really annoyed. Like, it's a trend in this year in the market, and we hate it. It's the undervaluing. Like, we believe there's like a market value, and it can work. We recently just did what we usually do. Here's what the comparables say for this neighborhood. We list on the lower end and hold off offers, and that's our plan. That's a fair plan. You're on the lower end of market value, but listing it like $100,000 under market value. Sorry. And that's a bit much. That's a bit much.
It's interesting because I can't think of any other industry where as buyers we would accept that.
No.
Like I can't imagine going to a car lot because we saw a car advertised for $10,000. But the dealer really expects to get 20.
So this is consumer safety 101 or consumer like care 101. There's like rules against this. You can't say this car is $10,000, no asterisks, like, you know what I mean? Like usually you see like car is this much, and then they have like an asterisk and there's like a big bar across the bottom of the screen that says like all of these, like not including upgrades or like all, and you saw all the upgrades in the picture. This is like the only market where like you could just slap whatever and be like, I don't know, my house, $300,000, go, like.
Okay, so basically, has real estate almost become storage wars?
Basically, it's basically storage wars. So we go over this all the time about like. So another kind of, there's a lot of conversation that goes on in Ontario right now is should there be blind bidding on houses? And that's what we do, right? It's blind bids. Yours is completely discreet compared to the others. And you put your offer in and you do the best that you can and go forward. And that people seem to think that if we opened the bidding and did an auction style bidding, that it would be more, that prices would cool off or it would feel more fair. I'm going to tell you that there are pros and cons to both. I like open bidding system. I like the auction system. I'm all about it. It still hey, you want to do open auction? I still get to market your property. I still get to stage it. I still get to do all of those things, be in charge, find you buyers, do those things. Happy to do it and happy to still be in the profession doing it. But the problem is that it doesn't really make it still fairer price. The problem with auction is that you get, have you ever been to an auction? You ever like auction?
Yeah, I used to do them a lot.
Bid on things? It gets like heated and you get emotional and things get like, you start making choices because you see other people making choices. Like something clicks in your brain where you're like keeping up with the Joneses kind of starts clicking in your brain that you got to beat that other person, even if you're not a competitive person. Then there's also the due diligence on things. So basically with an open bidding, like how are you getting in to do an inspection beforehand? Like, are you able to bring an inspector and like look around and do all of those things ahead of time? Financing would have to be completely different in Ontario to make that happen. Like you would have to actually have firm financing, like for real firm financing. You would have to have lenders that say, yes, you're good up to this amount. And it would have to not necessarily be tied to a particular house. Because that's the thing about getting approved for a house is that it's like you and your circumstances plus the house and everything that goes with it. Like, and it's like that fits, you know? Whereas like,
but why couldn't you have an auction system whereby the winning bid by default has a 5-day condition of financing and inspection?
Yeah, could be
everybody across the board has that.
That would be the most ideal scenario. But the problem with that is like you get sellers that to tell sellers and be like, as of right now, you have it beforehand. And then the day of selling is the day of selling and people get to decide beforehand. The problem with that is like, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm happy to do it either way. I think there's pros and cons to both, but devil's advocate, let's say it does sell. Right. So let's say people are in a bidding war. That's a literal bidding war. That's what I would call a bidding war. I don't like that term. I don't like to use it. Blind bid. It's like you just put your best foot forward, stay within market value. If everybody just stayed within market value and made good choices for their clients, it wouldn't be that as bad as it is. But we have these I swore. There it is. We have these rogues that come in, dark horses, and slide past people. I mean, sellers are happy, but if you're in the other system, so let's say you have that 5 business day. So something happens at the inspection. If it's their sole and absolute discretion, it would have to be completely different. It would have to be like you have to find something structurally wrong with the house and prove it or seller to remedy as well. So because the problem with it is that if you find something, then you have disclosure issues. So let's say they find something, that deal falls through. It's really hard to call the other people back from the auction and be like, hey, remember when you wanted to stop at $1 million and this person brought it up to 1.5? Well, the house is back on the market because that inspection fell through. So will that person still feel heated about purchasing the property? They'll be like, no, like what was wrong? I don't know if I would want to spend, like, let's say somebody was 1.5 and the other person was 1.49, well, wait a minute, what's wrong with the house now? Like my bid doesn't necessarily want to be that bid anymore, whereas like a blind bid system, you can do the inspection ahead of time. You would have to allow it for the auction system. You would have to allow pre-inspections and have the long list anyways. It would have to be like a hybrid.
Yeah, but that'd be tough because then the seller would potentially have to allow 11 inspections.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to now too. You'd have to allow it now too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like one of those things we kind of noodle around a little bit, right? Because open auction system, hey, I'm all for it, guys, but I just don't think it's going to make people like kind of tie blind bidding with the overpricing of houses, the overbuying of houses. I don't think it will change anything. If not, I think it could make it worse, only because you're literally standing there in the heat of the moment. And then you have people calling in. Then you'll have people calling in from other countries.
Yeah. So what happens if, like right now, if somebody goes 50,000 over asking, and everybody else are like, I hear the tales all the time of, we just missed out by like $5,000. If they had known what that winning offer was, they might have gone 5,000 above that.
It's a double-edged sword.
Right?
It's a double-edged sword.
In which case, things keep going up, like you said.
Either way, things start going up. So who's to say if that person wouldn't have gone up that 10,000, and then that person wouldn't have said, okay, 10,000 more, then that person would have said 10,000 more. You know what I mean? Like who wouldn't have said, like that it wouldn't be any different. So I just don't think that. I think there's pros and cons to both. I like both systems. I will say there could be, and I will stick to this especially for this year. I stand by our business, and I stand by our career and our industry. But there are some people that are really not doing this industry well and justice. They're really playing with fire when it comes to it, and are not taking care of their clients in a way that, and I think that's any time, and I've run into it time and time again. But I will say there are people that are just being reckless with other people spending money, ability to leverage. There's people being reckless.
I think the same can be said in the mortgage industry. Mm-hmm. Because, you hear stories all the time of people falsifying pay stubs mm-hmm. or income or things of that nature, covering up source of down payment, things like that. Yep. So, having circumvent the gifted down payment system, things of that nature. I mean, right now, to me, the biggest challenge is, as long as we allow co-signers, a lot more people are getting into houses. But it's almost like lenders are allowing you to circumvent their system. Right. Because those co-signers aren't the ones making the mortgage payments.
No, they're
only
not.
If the person defaults. Yeah. So that's kind of it's a bit of a catch-22. It helps, mm-hmm. but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's not being done truly as intended, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're going to run into it anywhere. But if we want to have an open market the way we have it, I think that our governing bodies need to hold our industry to a higher standard. I really do feel like slaps on the wrist just need to stop. Like straight up. Like if you have like, it needs to be much more punishable offenses. Like there are things that just happen in this industry where it's hard for people like to complain and see anything happen, and we're talking about people's money. We're talking about their future. We're talking about their ability to leverage loan. We're talking about their retirement. We're talking about, their financial well-being, and it's in our hands, and we should take it seriously. We should take it much more seriously than oftentimes I see it. And I don't mean to go like crazy on it, but I get mad about it.
What would happen if they made condition of inspection and 5-day condition of financing mandatory on all offers?
I think that's a great idea.
Because then we're protecting our clients, right?
I 100% stand behind mandatory due diligence clause is what we would call it. You have to allow for them to have an inspection, or you have to provide an inspection with a reputable source. Like that's the way you circumvent it, is allow to, and that other party is held liable for their inspection if it's accepted, and provide it for them. And then it's a 5-day financing condition. I do believe that in the hot markets like this, selling agents can get very, very lazy and not make itemized lists about things, not offer the surveys that are available, and forget about things like if you're selling a Century home, the easiest way to create buyer confidence is to provide a home inspection. Like, just provide it. It doesn't cost that much money in the end game. Like, I don't know. I get heated about it. But I will say that another way to do it, I've been talking with different people about this, is that every house that is listed should have to have a third party appraisal attached to it. So when you're listing, you have to list within the bullseye of that appraisal. So you can't, so like, let's say they say your house is worth $600,000. The appraiser is saying $600,000. You can't list it for $450 over here. It's got to be listed within the bullseye of $600,000. And then that way it's listing at market value is what's happening. You're not baiting people to come in and then making them feel forced to come up to the top end of their budget, or to be putting the onus on the buying agent to know the values. I've assessed more properties in the last year than any years in my years of real estate, because every single house we go to, I have to assess it and be like, so I know it says $499, but this is a $600,000 house, just so you know. Like, let's start at 600,000 and go from there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not healthy business, you know? Like, people are going to stop trusting. Like, what are we doing in this industry if we're not, nailing down house prices,
The appraisal thing might be difficult, because if you're getting an insured mortgage, there's a chance the insurer will want it appraised. Mm-hmm. Or if it's not an insured mortgage, the lender will want it appraised. And you have to use someone from their list of approved appraisers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm talking about, it's not for the lending, it is for the listing.
No, but what happens if the appraisal at listing comes in higher than the lender's appraiser appraises it at?
Well, then they can battle it out.
Then you're going to have an issue.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it would have to have some kind of like connection in there, like something would have to happen in there. I thought it was a pretty good idea. I think it still has its kinks as well, like where you have to iron them out. But I think that there are things that we can do on an industry level that could help, curve these, these periods of time where people are, getting buyer burnout or being disheartened, or, there are people that bought houses that are going to have to stay in them for a really long time. If the market, peters off like that usually does. If you look at the statistics, traditionally does this, and then it levels off, and then it does this, and then it levels off. There are people that bought houses last year and this year that are basically married to it now, are just basically married to it now.
Well, and I think we're entering the 2018 cycle. Mm-hmm. So we just came through 2016, 2017, where the market was insane.
On steroids, yes.
2018, interest rates climbed significantly, by a percent and a half. Mm-hmm. And that created a cooling. There was still a lot happening. Values were still going up, but at the normal 5 to 7% range. Mm-hmm. I think maybe we're about to hit that.
I think so. 2018 was my favorite. That was my favorite year of working in real estate. Conditions, sale of property, it was so good. Dude, just felt balanced, a little more balanced. Like, people were still, going over asking for houses, and things were still selling really well, but it wasn't like a dogfight, and it wasn't a dogfight for houses, but everybody felt like they were getting, their fair due diligence. And that's really at the end of the day. And I really love working with sellers that are, interested in that kind of transaction as well. And I have those those conversations ahead of time. Can we just get a buyer that's a confident buyer? I'll be able to filter out the BS and the, people that are just trying to make me swallow something so that they, can get this, like swallow these ideas. So that way, I can slide my buyer in here, but I think we can filter through that and make sure that, you get a good buyer with confidence. I look forward to a 2018 market. I need a break.
Okay. So, question for you.
Yep.
True or false? The difference between not owning a home and owning a home is your mindset.
Yes, it's true.
So, it really isn't about what's happening in the market. It really isn't about regulations or interest rates. It's really all about, if you want to own a home, here are the steps to doing it. Anybody can own a home.
Yep.
If you're willing to do the things you need to do,
Yep.
Sacrifice the things you need to sacrifice, take the steps you need to make your first home not your dream home, but your entry-level home that gets you there.
Yep.
So it really is, for people who are sitting on the sidelines, it really is 100% about mindset, isn't it?
It is. It's 100%. I think it's also like, it's about, and I get that disheartening, like I touched on it before about people coming along and being like, man, I just got this great approval. I'm all the way up here, but I want to keep it here. And then finding out that the houses that they want aren't what they expected, and that's pretty much true on all price points at this point. I just think that you have to kind of make some adjustments. If you're in a situation, where you can't afford the home that you really love and want right now, well, 5 to 8% appreciation year over year. What about this townhouse here? Like, what about this townhouse here for 3 years? What about this? 3 to 5 years, then, get rid of that debt, get the better approval. Your home is working for you to have more of a down payment, for your next move. It's basically, think of it as an investment that you can live in, it's like, these are mindset things that we talk to people about. That's just like making moves, but there's also like, having a hard look at where you're at and like making the changes necessary to make it a reality, your dream a reality.
So here's the smart buyer right now, in my opinion. Let's say you qualify for $550,000, $600,000. Okay? Go for a $450,000 condo. If it's just you or just you and your partner, 1-bedroom condo, get it. Stay well within your means, right? Even if you can get approved for more, stay in that means. Stay there for a couple of years. Take that extra money you saved, plus what this has appreciated in value, go and get that next place and rent your first place out.
Yep.
Let someone else continue to pay that mortgage while it appreciates in value. Let them help pay down the mortgage of your new home.
Yep.
Those are the savvy buyers right now. The ones who are getting those 1 or 2-bedroom condos that they're like, hey, I'm young, I'm still, I'm going to want to travel or what else, whatever. I'm not growing my family yet. Get that condo.
Get it.
Then rent that out and get your next place and continue to hold that asset and let somebody else pay the mortgage for you.
Well, look at your mortgage payment and something like that in that scenario when you're there for 2 years or 3 years as a forced savings account. You're basically paying in and getting 5 to 8% appreciation on your payments.
It's better than an RRSP.
It's better. It's better.
Right? So let that condo be part of your retirement plan.
Yeah.
Just keep renting it out. get the cash flow, pay down your other debt,
Yeah.
and guess what? Between your two properties, you're going to be able to retire.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do there. Financial advisors are a really good idea. It's on my list of things to do for 2022 is to actually get one, which would be super cool. I've talked to different people about it, and I think I'm well on my way there. But I think that having just and I it's hard coming from a point of real estate and telling people that because it sounds like I just want to make a sale. But my job and the way I view it is to help you make money and to help you build. Or it's not just to find your home. Like I tell people, I'm always thinking about your resale. I'm always thinking, what's your resale on this one? I'd much rather see you spend a little more right now or be in a position where, you get your hands on something, because I know that the appreciated value and what you can do with that property or whatever in the future will help you leverage better loans in the future and add to your wealth, for your retirement and things like that. It's part of our job, like as a mortgage Jedi and as a realtor.
so you and I both just passed our 5-year anniversary in the industry.
We sure did. Yeah,
And
sure did. Look at us go.
we can say quite honestly that people who bought that we helped, our clients that we helped,
Mhm.
back when we started, their
Yes.
homes are now worth twice what they purchased it for.
Yes. My home
Right?
is worth twice what I purchased it for. Yes, as well.
So if you take a look and say, if I had bought Apple stock 5 years ago,
Yeah.
if will it have doubled in value? Like, this is basically saying, hey, and the fact is, you can't take out a loan to buy too many investments that will appreciate like that, double in 5 years.
That's right. That's
Right?
right. I have kind of a myth actually that we can circle back on now that we've been talking about this is
Sure.
the market's going to crash. So
Yes,
that is a
there's a
statement.
bubble.
Yeah, it's a bubble. So Jamie and I have only been working in a bubble then. We've only been in the bubble.
There have been headlines
Yeah.
about this being in a bubble in major financial papers and magazines since 2008.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and the thing is too is that like I really like to break it down for people, and I go back to the stats when I start to talk to people about that. And when we had like a market kind of deficit in 2008, mostly it was in the States, but it definitely rippled up here. I like to go back to those stats on our matrix system, on the back end system, and show them and be like, okay, well, let's go and look at that then. And I go back and show people and be like, actually, that's not the biggest dip that we've ever had in market values was 2008. There was like a 2011 or 2012, somewhere in there, there was actually a bigger dip in property values, and then it just went back up. And it just does this, levels off, comes down, dip, come up, dip, come up. And it just keeps coming up. Like the dips happen for sure, but then it just keeps coming up. The honest truth of it is that you only have to worry about real estate prices when you are actively participating in real estate. So
actually, I would say you only have to worry about them when you're ready to sell.
yeah, that's actively participating.
Right?
So
Because
buying or selling.
when you're buying, you don't, it's not about, the next year your house might not be worth more.
Right.
But 10 years from now it will be.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure it will be.
So
yeah, and that's it. Is that you're right, actually. So very true. It's not necessarily where you buy it. It depends on your timeline and your motivations for that property. Really, you only have to think about real estate when you're trading, like when you're actually sending that property out to pasture. And that's the only time you have to think about property values. I'm not concerned about house prices going down, because I own my home, and I'm not concerned about it. I don't need to pull money from it. I don't need to do those things like right now. Like, so there's no, I'm not concerned. I don't have to sell it. I'm not interested in selling. These things, if the property was to go down in value, well, that's fine. Like I'm not planning on selling for another 10 years. So there's that.
What you just said reminded me of a podcast I had listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about successful mindsets. And they interviewed somebody who had a lot of success at buying stock. Like they did very well with their stock portfolio. And he said, the difference between why I was more successful than some other people is we've all heard the adage, buy low, sell high. He said, I was never worried about buying low. I just wanted to make sure that whatever I sold for was higher than what I bought for.
Yep.
And I made money.
Yep.
So if you sit around waiting to buy low, you might miss an opportunity to buy.
Yeah.
And you'll still sell high.
Yes. Exactly.
And that really reminds me of the market we're in right now. If you're waiting to buy low, you're missing an opportunity to buy.
Yep. And
that property will still go up. You will still sell high. But that opportunity to buy, for all you know, buying now is buying low.
Yeah. You're not, there's really no lemons on the lot either right now, which actually is a benefit to any buyer. And I try to tell people that, like to your point of, you are buying low right now because later it's going to be high. And I tell people there's no lemons on the lot. If there is somebody that finds a property and let's say it has structural issues, well, you keep one, like what's the land value on this thing? Like where are we at? What location? Like, oh, well, if you keep these two walls and tear down the rest of the house and build off the back, you got yourself an X price home, and what's your plan? How long are you going to be living here? Oh, you want to live in it in 10 years? Yeah, it's a good deal. You should get it. Because it depends on the price, of course, but because, if you have a long-term investment like that, it only matters 10 years from now. And the prices in history don't show that they're going to go down.
Well, and the other thing about that is gentrification of neighborhoods is happening a lot quicker than it used to.
So like
fast. When we got into this 5 years ago, the ward was still kind of one of the lower end neighborhoods in Guelph.
Yeah.
It didn't take long for that to turn around.
As far as price point goes, yeah.
Right.
No, it didn't.
It didn't take long for people to move in, fix up those wartime houses, and completely turn that neighborhood around.
Yeah, I mean, the ward was really impacted by Woods shutting down, the WC Woods shutting down, and a whole bunch of different things, factories in that area, and I know the word gentrification is really hard for people and things like that, but almost it's hard to kind of spin it a little bit. But on the other side of it, when people are wanting to move, these people that are coming from GTA or coming from other areas of Guelph and taking interest in these price point of houses and wanting to make the community better by living in them, it's not a bad thing. I know it seems like a bad thing, but it actually shows that our economy is doing well. That people want to move in there and contribute and make the area, fix up houses or make it, neater or cooler in some way.
I know there's a stigma.
I have a love-hate with it, and I get it.
See, the way I see it is, it's part of the natural cycle of a city revitalizing itself.
It is. It really is.
It's not a bad thing. People in that area aren't forced out of their homes. They just relocate to another neighborhood.
It's
And
true. It's true.
that's how the cycle happens.
It's true.
Neighborhoods turn over.
Neighborhoods
It's
turn
how
over.
cities constantly stay viable.
Yeah.
Right?
It can't stay
We
that
see
way
it everywhere.
forever.
No.
Mhm.
So we see it everywhere. And if anything, it creates opportunity.
It does.
And it shows that the city is reinvesting in staying modern
Yeah.
and, listening to the people. And it's, it's just a natural cycle of a city's life.
It's
So,
it's like you get to watch a neighborhood become something completely different in a way. And I understand it's like, there's economic struggles and things that are happening and people being moved out of their neighborhood in a negative context and stuff like that. At the same time, you've got these families that couldn't afford where they lived and they're moving into this neighborhood and wanting to contribute to it and leave it better than they found it. That's kind of cool too. I think where the dirty word of gentrification comes in is when corporate companies come in and try to falsify the gentrification. I think
yeah.
the ward Onward Willow, so where I live in Onward Willow in Guelph, is also having its day as well. We've been having our day for a while. It's kind of nice over here, but it's also not the favorite neighborhood in town. Our property taxes are great, but the area it's starting to become a little bit more high end with our breweries and like things like that. So schools and things, it's just to your point, it's a natural cycle. Nothing stays the same. Things change, but there's people living in it right now that are really enjoying it and loving it. And it'll be different when they move on from it and their kids move on from it, like natural cycles, man. It's what happens.
Yeah.
Sir, I feel like we should give you a break from your voice. I'm feeling like I feel really bad keeping you on here and chitty chatting.
It's okay.
This evening.
I have not done a good job of resting my voice these last 6 weeks.
No, yeah. Well, you gotta get some, get some more tea into you or something.
I've been drinking so much tea, and I saw a doctor earlier, and they got me on a prescription, so hopefully that'll clear things up. But there's really no rhyme or reason for it. They haven't figured out what's causing it, so.
You know what? Like, I don't think I've had a cold in a year and a half, so I wouldn't even know what to do with it at this point. I don't even know if I could make a tea, to be fair. I don't even know. Just like, do I throw gin at it? Is that what I throw at it? I will let you go, but this has been great to chat with you. And let's get, I think August 9th is August 11th, sorry, is our next little chitty chat. And I look forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah, thanks for joining me on my first YouTube experience.
Yeah, I might try the YouTube thing next time too. See how it plays out.
You know what? I've been working on our YouTube channel for about 2 years now that Rebecca and I have been doing this. And I'm pretty happy that we've gotten to this point. It's actually our little co-op student. I'm going to give a little shout out to Casey, who's been working with us this month of July. It was her little push she gave me a little push towards doing it. And I've been considering it for a while. And she thought it would be the better of the two. So we're going to try it out for a while. I'll share it on our Facebook page as well and our reels, obviously.
Awesome.
So, okay, Jamie, it was great to chat with you. You too.